Welcome to Everyday Moodlings. I'm your host, Drury Parks, and in this video we are going to be looking at spray ink. All this week we're going to discuss spray ink on the blog, and that is in conjunction with a brand new class I have started called Creative Inspiration Spray Ink, and that starts this week, so I hope that you will take a moment to check that out. In this video I'm actually going to show you real briefly one of the techniques that we're going to work with in the class, one of many techniques. And then we're going to go ahead and take a tag that I already created a background for and complete that in this video. So let's get started. First of all, what do I have here? I have a small mixed media journal that I use specifically for coloring. So you'll see it's got lots of stamped flowers in it, and that's just the image I chose to work with. And one of the things I'm going to show you how to do today is use spray ink to activate water-soluble products like Gelatos or your watercolor pencils. In my first 4 flowers here, I colored each one of them with ink tense pencils. I will get that out. Ink Tense Pencils. It's Monday. By Derwent. They are a water-soluble ink pencil. And you can see we have some slight differences. This one is just using straight water. This one's going to be a little hard to see in the camera most likely. What I did is I used a homemade Perfect Pearls spray that's just got the white Perfect Pearls in here, and I used that to color this image. It gives it a really subtle shimmer. Like I said, I don't know that it'll be picked up on the camera, but that's a really nice variation. This one I actually did more of a vintage color by using a brown walnut ink spray to color it. And in this one over here, I haven't quite finished it, but I was using a white misting spray. So let's finish that one, and I'll show you how I do this, and then we'll get down here and I'll also show you how I did this one, which is actually using just one color of Gelatos and getting all these different variations. So now with a white misting spray or white stain, or usually there is a small amount of paint in here. That is how you get that white color. So you can see here it obscured my stamped image just a little bit compared to this in the center of the flower. To avoid that, it would have been better if I had stamped and embossed these so that the stamped image would resist my coloring. However, this is just some place to play, so I didn't worry about it. And I'm using a product which I love. I need to do a whole video on these, called Fantastics. And what they are basically is a colorless marker. Basically, it's the same kind of tip that you would see on a marker. They are meant to be used with inks, but I have found them to be one of the most versatile coloring tools ever. So I've sprayed a little bit of my white misting spray. I'm just going to pick that up with my Fantastics, and then I'm going to use that to activate the color. Now if I find it's too white, I can always just add a little water here. That'll tone down that white just a little bit. And now what you'll notice is I have just a slightly paler color than this one, kind of more, again, a bit more vintage look, but rather than the brown, we've gone light with it. Almost kind of a cottagey feel to it. And if I want to tone it down even more, like I said, I can just use the white misting spray. And that's going to give me an even more toned down look compared to my original. So you can get some really cool, subtle shades in here. So now, you might wonder what to do with the tip of this. I'm just gonna spray a little water here, clean it up. And then what you wanna use is like a textured paper towel. Now it is fairly clean at this point. There isn't too much color transfer. However, these things are fairly inexpensive, so I have a whole bucket of them. And they're color coded, so this one is the red, that's why I used it with the pink. And it has a dot in the center of it. That means that I'm using this one for liquid applications. I also have some that I use for dry applications like chalk or pan pastels. These tips do not dry out very well. They actually stay quite moist, and so I have a set for liquid applications and one for dry. So let me clean up here real quick, and we're going to do this second flower here. Okay, for this flower down here, I actually just used a single color of Gelatos. This is a fun blue color. Now for this one, if you worked with Gelatos before, then you know you can color and activate it that way. But I found this technique works by activating the Gelatos indirectly and then painting it on. So we want to start with just the original color. We're going to do, oh, I got it really light. Sprayed just a little too much water on there. We can always go back and add more color. Like I said, these first ones are very light, but I wanted you to see the original color as we start to blend it with other colors. There. Now that was just colored with water. So now let's do it again. These things last a really long time too, so that's awesome. And then actually in this one, I'm going to use just a little bit of green to give me kind of a blue greenish color. Be careful, these are so intense that don't spray it directly. You want to kind of work them together. Oh, hers comes out of the bottle so forcefully sometimes. So I'm actually going to activate it with just a little bit of water too. I don't want too much of this green. Otherwise it's going to feel more green. Let's see. Oh, that's a little too much, I think. Doesn't take much. There. Of that green to really alter the color. There we go, that's a nice blue-green. I still like even the more green one. I think that's a nice variation too. Let's do one more that's a little more green. This allows you really to get some really great color combinations from just a single product or one or two products. Okay, let me clean that one up quick, and then we're going to add in some brown. Okay, so we got our brown and blue mixed together. And this is just a toned down look of the original, just slightly muted. I like these Fantastics because they're really super easy to paint with or color with. It's pretty much like using a marker. Oops, got a little too brown for me there. So if you find it's getting too brown or too light, you can always go back and just add a little bit of water to it, and that'll lighten it back up again. So there you go, that's just another way to use misting sprays that maybe you hadn't thought of to give some really interesting color variation to what is essentially a single color of gelato.